Now we're going to talk about the three I's of the business owner, which is the heart of today's presentation. The first perspective is that of the entrepreneur. Notice how the eye is looking forward and hopefully a little bit upward, working on the business. This is a perspective that drives growth and builds equity when you want to sell. Looking forward is out into external factors like the economy, like new customer trends, where your competition's at, anticipating changing customer preferences, emerging preferences in terms of digital technology, and meeting your customer where they're at, strategic positioning of your company, hiring the right people and building the right culture. The second perspective is that of a manager. And you notice that the manager's perspective is looking backwards. So a lot of this is looking at reports, monitoring what's happened to make adjustments to make your business work better going forward. It's also doing things like hiring and training the staff, but it's more reactive to the business. It's more keeping up with the growth that's coming at you. So in my right-at-home businesses, on the strategy side, what we started doing is spending more time building partnerships with the right companies that can refer us hundreds of customers, rather than just focusing on one-on-one things. We're focusing on hiring professional managers who can hire and develop caregivers so that we can focus on building and acquiring other territories and creating better working environments so that we attract better people. And likewise, on the management side, it's things like handling the payroll and things. So just to put things in perspective of the examples of the tactical tasks that happens at these levels. The last perspective, and by far the one we spend the most time in, no matter if we run a business, is the role of the technician. Where do the technician eyes look? Now, those eyes do look a lot like mine. And it's because the technician is working in the business. It's doing the business. A lot of times when we create a business, if it's a software business, the founder's writing the software or selling the software on a day-to-day basis. In our healthcare business, from time to time, we have to care for an elderly patient because a caregiver doesn't show up or because we haven't hired enough people. It's hard to align demand with supply. So the nature of the business, this is what they're talking about when you hear the phrase, you're working in the business, not on the business. The in the business sustains you for that moment, but sometimes takes away your time to focus on the things that will enable growth in the future. So the question I would ask you is, how much time in the technician role do you spend on your business? And I'm going to encourage you, if you're watching this, to just make an estimate of what percentage of your time you spend working in the technician role, doing the selling, answering the phone, doing payroll, doing the functions of things that can have other people do. Mark, do you shout out if you get any answers?
Sure, Charlie. Nothing yet. So, but yeah, folks, there's no right or wrong answer here. So throw out, what do you think you might spend in your technician role? And I'll read out any of the percentages. Lori says about 90%.
Yep. Well, Lori, thank you for
sales is what Lori then goes on to say.
Well, to be truthful, in my first year as a focal point coach, the same thing for me. I spend all my time networking and getting to know people, and of course, delivering the work of serving my clients. So it's not unusual. So when Focal Point regularly does this exercise, this is one of our favorite power principles for success for clients. And normally when we conduct this, the average will be something like 80% of the time from the people in the room is spent on technician role. Although in my experience, a lot of times when I start with a client who's just entering the growth phase, they're spending 90 or 95%. They're just keeping the business alive and they're working 70 hours a week. and they've got concerns about their health and other issues. 15% is a common estimate of how much time people spend managing and looking backwards and doing the core day-to-day of managing the staff. So only 5% of the time is spent being the entrepreneur. Now I want to take you back to the slide of the causes of stagnation. The top 3 were all strategic: letting your brand atrophy, failing to innovate, failing to find a new way to serve your clients. That's where you're getting to the top of the curve and the growth is slowing. So that's why it's important to spend more of your time allocated towards the entrepreneurial role. And that, of course, is what we do as coaches at Focal Point, is we work with you to find strategies of offloading the work that some of you find drudgery. Like for me, it's doing accounting. And this is where I've started integrating virtual assistants into my life, people who are passionate and detail oriented, where I'm a big idea guy. They come in and they manage my invoices. And then what that's done is that's freed up more time for me to do public speaking, things that I love, writing articles and journals and filming things, which is really where I get my joy and my energy. So let's just turn one other attention then, is how much would you pay someone to do the technician role in your business? So Lori, I don't know if you want to volunteer what you might pay someone in that role, or anybody else for that matter. And I'll just pause for just one moment.
Yeah, nothing coming up, Charlie, but I know what I've found is that oftentimes maybe in these smaller to mid-sized businesses, the technician or the lower level staff might be $15, $20, or $25 an hour.
Yeah, I think that that's true. And that's certainly true in our home care business. Now, if any of you are like one of my customers is on and they're a tech business, and certainly they pay software engineers quite a bit more. So it does differ by industry, but the idea is $15 an hour work. So I guess I correctly anticipated your answer. When we do this seminar, we often determine that a manager is paid $35 an hour, somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 a year if they're working full time for the year. Now, how much is your time as an entrepreneur worth? Now, that's a magical question. Now, mostly, I normally hear at least $100 an hour, which can translate to like a $200,000 a year field. But if your business is about not only taking your income in, but growing a business that acquires worth, that you're going to sell the business for in the future, is, it's $100, it's $200. To some tech owners, it's almost infinity. So the question is why would you spend time doing work that you would pay someone else $15 an hour work for? And that's the gotcha that's what unlocks growth with most of our growth customers, is helping them transition through a very predictable stage of recognizing it and then going through a series of tasks to eliminate tasks that don't need to be done, to automate work that nobody should be doing. And this is really true with digital automation. And then finally, delegating that work, the payroll work, the sales work, so that you can spend more time acquiring other businesses or innovating in the next generation product. So I have 3 recommendations for those of you that want to grow your business. First off, evaluate for your goals for the business, especially in the context of what you want for business success, financial security, your health, and your family, your lifestyle, and your faith. There's no right answer here. It's all very personal. If you're really wanting to grow your business or scale your business or grow your financial security such that it requires you to add people, take the time to hire the right people and build the right culture and automate wherever possible. It's never been easier to automate with low-cost technology than it is now. And finally, master delegation best practices. And not coincidentally, our seminar next month will be on June 8th and it's about how to delegate. So I hope you'll join us then. So I want to leave you then with a challenge.